At first, Cade thought it was just a dream, or at least the tail end of a dream. He had woken up in the middle of the night to find a strange, and strange-looking, man standing at the side of his bed. The strange man was staring intently at Cade and said in a strangely accented voice, "You finished yet?" And then he vanished. Cade didn't know whether to laugh or get annoyed, so he laughed and then rolled over and went back to sleep. He would probably have forgotten about it until it happened again and again. It was after the third of these nocturnal episodes that Cade recognized the strange intruder. It was the Ghouly Man. The Ghouly Man. The Ghouly Man had been the neighborhood creep. The neighborhood creep during Cade's high school days. Or was that days? D-A-Z-E. Or, for you Americans, D-A-Z-E. In appearance, the Ghouly Man looked a lot like Uncle Fester from the old Addams Family TV show. He was bald, with dark bulging eyes, a round moon face, and dry, pale skin that made you think of fungus. It was coarse-grained and yellowish-gray. The Ghouly Man was always dressed in a funereal black suit, complete with white shirt and black tie. He spoke with a pronounced accent, but no one knew where he really came from, although some said Transylvania. He was seen at all hours of the day and night, walking the streets, talking and gesticulating. Some said he was making magical signs. It was an immigrant neighborhood, and a lot of the locals claimed the Ghouly Man had the evil eye. Cade didn't know. He only knew that he had 3 strange encounters with the Ghouly Man. The first took place in the grocery store. Cade had been checking the shelves for chips or something when he felt someone or something close behind him. Cade whipped round to find the Ghouly Man standing directly behind him, so close he was in Cade's personal space. He had a weird, sardonic smile on his yellow moon face, and he said, in a quiet voice, "You finished yet?" Startled, Cade walked rapidly away, too startled to even swear. The second encounter took place when Cade and his buddies were hanging on a street corner, smoking cigarettes and talking trash, when the Ghouly Man suddenly appeared, staring at the group as if to memorize their faces. Cade, remarking his resemblance to Uncle Fester, began singing an old schoolyard jingle. Well, the Addams family started when Uncle Fester farted. The rest of the song was drowned out by raucous laughter, and when it had finally subsided, the Ghouly Man scowled at Cade and said, "You finished yet?" before stalking off to the brain of jackass mirth. Jackass mirth. But Cade's third encounter with the Ghouly Man was the most memorable. because it was so gross. Cade was sitting on the toilet in a public washroom, feeling that slight sense of apprehension he always felt when taking care of business in a shared space. He heard the door to the washroom open, then the sound of footsteps approaching his stall, footsteps that stopped just outside the door, right in front of the door. Cade could only see a pair of shiny black shoes in the space under the stall door. And then whoever was standing there began tapping on the door. Tapping, tapping, tapping. Cade was absolutely terrified, too terrified to speak, but when he finally found his voice, he unleashed a barrage of obscenities, so convoluted and so loud that he failed to realize, at first, that the tapping had stopped, and in the silence that followed, he heard the voice of the Ghouly Man say, softly say, "You finished yet?" When his ablutions were done, Cade went in search of the Ghouly Man, seriously thinking about kicking his butt. But he was gone. And within the week, the Ghouly Man was reported as being dead. And no, Cade had nothing to do with it. Nothing. Supposedly dead. For some said they saw the Ghouly Man roaming the streets late at night. Cade never saw him again, but still managed to get a measure of revenge, for he knew where the Ghouly Man was buried, and after one sodden night, one humid night in a beer parlor, he went and pissed on his grave. Cade had drunk a lot of beer, so it took him quite a while, but when the pee finally subsided, he zipped up and said, "Now I've finished." No answer. But now, Ghouly appeared to be back. Was this some sort of ghostly vengeance? Yet, when he failed to appear for several nights, Cade began to feel it was indeed finished. But a few nights later, Cade was entertaining a close female acquaintance, and things were proceeding nicely, when she suddenly screamed, but not with passion. The Ghouly Man stood at the side of the bed, and looking down at their naked bodies said, "You finished yet?" That finished a lot of things. Cade lost his girl, was about to lose his job, and he was sure he was losing his mind, which is why he made the long drive back to his old hometown, and why he was at the Ghouly Man's grave at 3 a.m. He was going to dig him up and drive a stake through his heart, assuming he had one. But when Cade finally succeeded in prying the lid off the coffin, it was empty. And that's when he heard a voice behind him say, "You finished yet?" The moral of the story? Never start anything you don't intend to finish. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. My name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring such cryptids as the Night Floaters, werewolves, and the Black-Eyed Children. So again, please consider subscribing. Please help me to reach my goal of 2,500 subs. Till midnight. Cheers. Pictures used in today's video, courtesy of Pix here, that's PX here, while the music was the classic Lightless Dawn. Lightless Dawn by that patron of the internet, Kevin MacLeod. I hadn't used it for a while, and I thought it was appropriate. Let me know if you think so too, or if you don't, in the comments below.